Anything to do with it over here? No. Okay.
You look great in
Hello,
the middle.
hello.
You know why? The coloration of the outfits.
Hello, welcome to Saved by Grace.
And my name is
And-
JC.
And my name is Dolores.
And now we have a special guest, and he will share his testimony. His name is Greg Franklin. So happy for you to be with us today,
thank you
Greg.
for showing up today. And,
Yes.
Thank
it's a
you.
blessing for you having you on the show for today.
Well, it's a pleasure being asked, and it's a pleasure to be here. I
And-
only hope that the testimony that I share will help someone out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Amen,
So
amen.
you've been 37 years in business ventures.
Yes, I was in medical sales,
Oh, wow.
amongst a few other things, but the final part of my career was in medical sales.
Oh, okay.
And I've been with the likes of Hewlett Packard's Medical Products Group,
Oh, wow.
Medtronic, and Welsh Allen. So I've had a terrific career. But now we're moving into the next phase of my career.
And
Amen.
which is?
Well, I'm feeling led to do ministry.
Yes.
Maybe not in the traditional way in a
Mhm.
church every
Yes.
Sunday,
Yes.
but doing it in social media for those folks who don't have a connection with the church,
Yeah.
don't like the word church,
Yeah.
feel like churches hurt people,
Yes.
and are not being spiritually fed because they don't go to church.
Yes.
So we
yes.
just want to give them another
Mhm.
avenue that they can go and hear a message, hopefully feel inspired, and want to believe in a power higher than themselves.
Okay.
Amen. And that's amazing that God will lead you into that direction, and I know He will. You
Yes.
know, because God is good all the time. You know,
All the
He
time.
is. He is.
And when we reach out to others, as well as your ministry to them, that you can help out somebody out there, because there may be somebody that may be going through a message that you're giving them.
Yes.
Yes. That's
Thank
you.
absolutely awesome.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us when you had that great encounter with God in your.
Yes.
Well, I've had
journey.
encounters with God, but really hit me in 2008 when the economy
Okay.
crashed.
Oh, wow.
I, for the first time in my life, got laid off, lost my job.
Mm-hmm.
It was very difficult because, I had always lived a very charmed life.
Yes. Yes.
I excelled in sales. I was in
Yes.
medical sales. And, we typically always lived in a good neighborhood,
Yeah.
gated community,
Yes.
and, was fortunate to be able to take the family
Mhm.
out to eat on Friday night and do
Yes.
all the things that,
Yes.
I dreamed I could do.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2008, that came crashing down. So
Oh,
I had
wow.
some options to make. And we could sell the home in Laguna Hills, which I had said was going to be my retirement home.
Oh, wow.
But when we make plans, God laughs, as the old saying goes.
Yes.
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 I didn't want to leave, but I knew that would be an opportunity for us to sell the house. Housing in California is very expensive.
Yes,
and we
it
could
is.
go to any place in the country and start all over again.
Yes.
Well, the spouse did not want to do that.
Oh, okay.
And I don't blame her. She
Mhm.
moved with me from Chicago to Seattle to San Francisco.
Yes.
And she said, Greg, this is the last stop. I'm not moving. So, long story short, I held on as long as I could.
Mm-hmm.
I went through the majority of our savings trying to find another job. And eventually, I was out.
Oh.
So we ended up divorcing. She took her half, I took my half. And that was the first time that I really ever experienced difficulty. So I was in connection with some of my college friends who
Mhm.
reminded me that this was our 40th year reunion
Yes.
in college. So I went back, and before I went, there was a job posting for Director of Institutional Advancement, which is
Uh-huh.
basically the fundraiser for the school.
Okay.
And having been in sales my entire career, I'm thinking this would be the perfect job for me.
Yes.
So I reached out to the president, who stayed in the same dorm that I did. He was a
Yes.
year older than me. He said, I'll give you an hour. We ended up taking 2 hours. I put together a presentation binder
Mhm.
with everything that I wanted to accomplish.
Yes.
And I presented it to him. He asked to keep it, and he said, "Listen, I can't give you a written contract, but I think I've heard enough to give you a handshake.
Oh, wow.
So come on back. We'll work out the details."
Yes.
Month later, no job. 6 months later, still no decision. You know, and I really can't blame anybody but myself,
Uh-huh.
because the way Spirit works, if it's for you, it's going to happen.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
we don't have to labor the point and beg and
Yes,
wonder and
right,
plea, and I was
yeah.
starting to do that.
Yes, yes.
And I blame myself.
Mm-hmm.
But it got to a year, and it was the day before the year, and my savings was just about on E.
Mhm.
And I called and I said, "Listen, I need to have a decision. I need to
Mhm.
have it today."
Yes.
And his secretary called and said, "Unfortunately, we're going to move on."
Oh,
So I was
okay.
devastated.
Yes, of
Now I'm
course.
flat broke.
Yeah.
What do I do now?
Yes.
Being in this position for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was embarrassed to go to friends. I ended up, the day that happened, to also show you how Spirit works, because when one door closes, we focus on
Yeah.
the one that closes.
Yes.
I'm sitting at the light,
Mhm.
and there was a truck in front of me,
Uh-huh.
and it said, "We do exterior and interior housework.
Oh, okay.
We're looking for good people," and
Yeah.
there was the number.
Yes. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Picked it up and
amazing.
called right
Mhm.
away.
Yes.
And when I called, she said, "We're looking for roofers. We're looking for people who can put siding on a house, put
Yeah.
in windows." I said, "I can't do any of that, but do you have a need for sales?"
Yes.
She said, "We always have a need for sales."
Yes.
"What's your name?" So she took my name and number. I got a call. I
Yes.
went in the next day. I sold myself. He said, "I hear enough to bring you back to meet the owner."
Yeah.
I met the owner the next day, and having never sold anything to do with a home,
Yeah.
they gave me an opportunity.
Wow.
Well, this was a couple summers ago in Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
and it rained and rained and rained. So you get paid when the job is done. They
Yeah.
give you a little bit up front of a commission, about
Yeah.
30%, but the 70% comes at the end.
At the end, yeah.
So I'm paying my own expenses. So I have a car note, insurance, gas, food, and housing,
Yeah.
and all I'm getting is this 30%.
Oh, wow.
And eventually, after a couple months of rain and the installations were postponed,
Oh, wow.
now I'm back to ground zero
Yes.
one more time.
Yes. Yes.
And the bank called. I hadn't made, a car payment. Now that car payment is going into 2 car payments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, I ended up getting evicted from my
Mhm.
apartment. Again, the first time in my life I've ever been in a situation like that.
Yes.
My home in Laguna Hills, we were the only African American in a gated community.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm finding myself in new territory.
Yes.
So I slept in my car the first week.
Oh, wow.
With the 3 Series BMW, that's not very comfortable. Trust me. And then I finally got up enough gumption to go to the Salvation Army. And with the Salvation Army, you have to really get in line at about 6 a.m. because
Yes,
the doors open
yes,
at 9,
uh-huh.
and there are just
Yes.
people lined up.
Yes.
So the first day I went, I didn't get there early,
Early enough.
and
yeah.
I was probably number 10,
Yeah.
and that was all for naught.
Mhm.
When it got inside, we only have 2 beds, so I
Mhm.
had to come back the next day. And the next day I came back. This time I was number 3,
Yes.
but no beds, period, for
Yes,
anyone.
Yes.
3rd day and the 4th day, it poured rain. I mean, poured rain. And we're standing in line in the rain.
In the rain.
And when
yeah.
she opened the door, we walked in. The
Drenched,
lobby
yeah.
was just filled with water.
Oh,
and she
wow.
said, "We have no beds." So
Oh.
I'm starting to look at
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
I mean,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I think I've been a pretty decent fellow, but
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah.
On the 5th day, I got lucky. She said, "I have 2 beds available, but they're pay beds. You have to have a job," and told me what the fee was. Fortunately, I had enough money in my pocket to put down for a payment.
Yeah.
So I'm staying in the Salvation Army. You're talking about a room about the size of an army barrack with nothing
Oh,
but
wow.
rows of bunk beds.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
I know how that is.
You get a locker
Mhm.
about the size of your locker in your junior high school,
Oh,
and all your stuff can fit in here. So you can basically put a pair of pants and a shirt,
and that's
maybe
it.
2 pair of pants
Yeah.
if you squeeze in 2 shirts.
Yes.
You got a pair of shoes on the bottom, and then up top you've got your overnight bag with your toothbrush and all of that in it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So the rest of my things, I put it in the trunk of my car.
Yeah.
So, living in the Salvation Army was a trip, man. I mean, it really humbled me.
Mm-hmm.
Really humbled me.
Yes.
Listening to the stories of people around me who were living on the streets and
Yes.
were glad to have this bed,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting here feeling like I'm so uncomfortable in this
Yeah.
position.
Yes.
So, one morning I got up, well, the day before anyway, I didn't let anybody know I had a car.
Yeah.
Because these were combination lockers, and I got my
Yeah.
key and my pants and everything
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
locker. So I came back early one day,
Mm-hmm.
and I parked right out front where the guys were sitting out smoking and everything.
Ooh.
And they were like, "Hey, ain't that the dude from California?"
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, I get up the next morning, getting ready to do my Uber job,
Uh-huh.
and my car is missing.
Oh, God.
So,
oh my goodness.
so I
Oh,
go
my God.
inside
Oh, God.
and went through my pants and went to
Yeah.
the top rack. There were
Yeah.
no keys.
Oh,
So
wow.
I came back out again, thinking maybe this was a bad dream,
Mhm.
and there was no car.
Wow.
So, I went inside and talked to the director, and he said, "Listen, we'll do all we can for you. On Friday, you have to pay your weekly, it's like $200 for the
Yeah.
bed, be able to shower, and get 3 meals.
Yeah.
So, or 2 meals. So I came back on Friday, and it was payday, and I put my card up
Yeah.
to the door, and it wouldn't open. And then I looked at the receptionist. She said, "Hold on a minute." And then this guy comes out that we infamously call 6'5". And
Mm-hmm.
if 6'5" comes out, there's a problem.
Oh, no.
And he said, "Step inside the office. May I speak to you for a minute?"
Okay.
He said, "You haven't paid your rent. Do you have the money?" I said, "No." "You know the rules." I said, "Well, my car was stolen." Regardless of that, he walks over with a
Like an eviction notice? Or...
no. He came to me with a box of a hefty bags, and he pulled out a big black one. He threw it at me and said, "You got 5 minutes to clean out your locker."
Mm.
And I said, "Where I'm gonna go?" And he said, "I don't give a fuck where you go. You just got to get up out of here." So
Wow.
I went upstairs and cleared out my locker. Excuse my French.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting just in shock and disbelief. And after about 15 minutes, the security guard came up, and he's walking around, and then finally he says, "Is there a Mr. Franklin here?" I raised my hand,
Mm-hmm.
and he looked at me and he said, "Son, you're the last person I thought this would happen to. I was told that there was some guy upstairs that we told to leave, and he was acting a fool."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Greg, I'm really sorry, but you're going to have to go."
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
So he sat down next to me and he said, "Can I pray with you before you leave?"
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And he did. And all I have is the pants that I have on, the shirt that I have on, the jacket that I have on, because it was like November, December, it was winter time.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
And everything that I owned, all of my clothes, my shoes, my hats, were in the trunk of the car
Yeah.
that was stolen.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So I ended up sleeping in Centennial Park in downtown Atlanta. What an
Oh,
experience
my
to
God.
sit on the ground in the park and having to sleep on a picnic bench. And, people
Must
will
have
walk.
been super
Yes.
cold. Like.
Yes.
Not only cold, but,
Another-
people can be very judgmental.
Uh-huh. Yes, of
Oh,
course.
yes.
Of
Some
course.
people will look at you and give you eye contact, and some
Yeah.
will say, here's $1. And I remember one man came by and just literally read me the riot act. "You see what bad decisions do for your son? If you hadn't been on drugs, you wouldn't be sitting here on this park
They
bench."
always think
Oh,
about
my
that.
goodness.
Like,
Yeah, I'm going, "Dude, you don't even know me."
Yeah,
they think
yeah,
the worst.
yes.
Right. So,
Yeah.
I said, I'm not going to argue with you.
Yes.
So, long story short, it ended up on Sunday, and I had just enough money in my pocket to get something to eat. And there was a special at this little arcade. You could take your kids and you could watch
Yeah.
the game. And it was like 6 hot wings
Mm-hmm.
and some fries and a drink for like $10, and that's all I
Yes,
had was
yes.
my last $10. So I
Yes.
come walking in, and there was a family sitting in the first booth, so I took the second booth.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down, and the gentleman said, "Are you homeless?" And I was like, he asked me the second time. He said, "Are you homeless?" Then the third time he said, "Young man, swallow your pride. Are you homeless? We'd like to help you."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Yes, I am." What's my favorite meal in life? A steak dinner,
Mm-hmm.
baked potato
Yeah.
with all the fixings, and either
Yes.
broccoli or roasted asparagus. He said, "Waitress, get this man a steak dinner with a baked potato, and what do you have today? Broccoli or asparagus?" And I'm going, did this dude just read my mind or
Mm-hmm.
what?
Yeah.
So we end up talking. He said, "Can you drive a 24-wheeler?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, if you could, you could work for me because I own a trucking company." He said,
Oh,
"What were
wow.
you doing before this?" And I said, "Well, I was flying Uber, but my car was
Yeah.
He said, "Okay, I'll tell you what. Let me see what I can do."
We are stand.
Call me tomorrow at this time, and let me see what I can do to help you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's the call from from Spirit, isn't it? I think that's Bettina. Okay. Yeah. Here, whose is this? Bettina's.
That's her.
Oh, sorry. But the next day I met with him,
Mm-hmm.
and not only did he help me, but he helped me find some place to live.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "This is between you and me. I give to this particular foundation, and I called a favor." He said, "You will be sharing a 2-bedroom apartment with a gentleman who was in the Vietnam War."
Yes.
So it was the two of us. Again, another humbling experience. But, to have the experience of sleeping on the ground
Mm-hmm.
with everything that you have gone, except for the clothes that are literally on your back, is the most humbling feeling I've ever had. People use the word surreal a lot. It was past that for me.
Yes. Yes.
My grandmother used to say, "You can't fall off the floor." I was in the basement. That's how
Mhm.
bad it was.
Yes.
So, I didn't want to, I did it because I was just frankly tired.
Yes.
I walked over to the MARTA station. I had my black bag in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
The train was coming. And I walked up to the edge, and my phone rang. And I pulled it out. It was my son, Ross. So I answered the phone, and he said, "Dad, I was
Mhm.
just thinking about you.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing today?" I turned around and walked away.
Oh.
So, to wrap the story up, the guy helped me get on my feet through Uber. I picked up a guy who was a VP with one of the large tech companies, i.e. Google. Ended up getting a job, which got me back on my feet, and ended up leading the sales team, selling the Google Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a humbling experience for me. And if somebody out there is going through something of this magnitude, don't give up. Don't ever give up. I was near the point of giving up. And I thank God today that I didn't. Because if you make your bed in heaven, Spirit is with you.
Yes.
And if you make your bed
Amen.
in hell, Spirit is with you. And believe me, I was in hell.
Mm-hmm.
So, I joined this church, and I wanted to spend some time with the senior pastor, and I was really surprised that he accepted spending some time with me.
Mhm.
I had just joined the church, and I
Yes.
shared with him my journey.
Yes.
And he said to me, "Have you ever called that guy and thanked him?" I said, "Many times. I called him on Christmas. I said, 'Hey, look, I'd like to come by and bring some toys for your kids.' And
Yes.
he said, 'They have enough toys.' And I
Yes.
said, 'Well, can I come by tomorrow and watch the football game with you? The Atlanta Falcons are on.'
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, yeah, I'll call you tomorrow."
Mm-hmm.
So after the third no, I just said, well, maybe he just doesn't want to be bothered.
Yes, yes.
So he said, Greg, that was an angel. There are angels amongst us who are here to help us.
Yes.
That was your angel.
Amen.
He said, do you have your cell phone on you? I said, yeah. He said, call the number right now. The number you have called is no longer in service.
Wow.
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 That sent chills down my spine.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So when I see someone else in need of help, I'm going to be their angel. You can be their angel.
Yes.
You can be their angel.
Yes, yes.
Praise God.
Yes.
So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
It's beautiful because we're
Yeah.
supposed to be
Yeah.
the hands and feet of Jesus here
Yes.
on
Amen.
earth.
Amen.
Yeah.
We're here to be His ambassador, not to put on a religious facade of self-righteousness,
Right.
but to reach out to the broken, to the marginalized,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
you know, and all those people that society has ostracized.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I
And-
feel you on that one.
Yeah. And that is how we shed His light into the darkness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you
And
know,
Jesus, when we go through those trials, you know, of life and that, you know, sometimes, you know, He puts us there for a purpose, and there's a reason to it, and that to help us out. I mean, it may not, yeah, it may seem like it's harsh sometimes, you know, but because the world could be cruel, you know,
Yes.
and stuff, but things that happens, but
Yes.
there's their testimony right there with your life that God has planned for you, your testimony, and now look how you are now.
right.
From
Yes.
there.
Right.
Yes.
And so now you're sharing it.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's others out there that I feel in spirit that they're going through the same thing too. They went through the same thing.
Yes.
You know, and this is helping them right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's amen,
Absolutely.
amen, amen.
Yeah.
Yes. 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 And yes.
I'll drink to that.
You know,
Yes, amen.
I just never wanted to be a person that you see with a shopping bag under the freeway. And I said, you know, if I'm going to end this thing, I just want to end it now. I never wanted to get to that point. But what I realized as time went on, you know, when we're going through these situations, we don't always see the gift in it. I think God wanted me to be humble, to know what it's like to be homeless, to hear others' story.
Yes.
Yes.
There was a section of the house for guys who had been given a second chance. You remember Obama let, you know, prisoners out, and they had to go through a drug alcohol program
Yes.
sponsored by or sponsored with the Salvation Army. They had to show up every morning with their, you know, with their big book
Yes.
and go through that.
Yes.
So I got a chance to connect with them, you know, to see that I've been gotten out of prison. I have a second chance, and I'm going to make the most of this chance. So to be able to listen to their story. And there was another section for the veterans. And the veterans got the best treatment, and that they absolutely deserve it. You know, they had their own big screen TV with their remote. But to hear some of those guys' stories who talked about fighting for the country and then coming home and, you know, can't afford a house or can't afford housing. So it really humbled me to those that are less fortunate to better understand their plight. And I believe that that's the ministry that I will be on, is to
Yes.
find some way to give back to those. They don't need a handout, they need a hand up.
There you go.
Amen,
Yeah,
amen.
amen to that.
Exactly,
Yeah, that's really
exactly.
powerful.
That
Yes.
is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
So where are you right now as far as your spiritual journey is concerned?
Well, I have a social media show called Gary's Joy. We opened the show with a inspirational message of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually my goal is to have a ministry beyond walls. I'd love to have 1 million
Yes.
viewers from all over the globe, and we talk about the goodness and the greatness of Spirit, our God,
Yes.
and what God has done for us.
Yes.
And I'm working on a 401 3C so that I can be a nonprofit, because I'd like to have a foundation where when these guys get out of jail and they're wearing some pretty raggedy looking clothes, to be able to fit them in a suit, a shirt and a tie, and give them some dignity to be able to walk in to an office for an interview.
Beautiful.
Praise God,
Yeah, that's
praise God.
really
That's
powerful.
beautiful. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I like that concept that, what did you say, without walls?
Church without walls.
Church without
Yeah,
walls.
I love
Yes.
that. I
And
love that.
The reason why it resonates so much in my heart is because you can't put God in a box.
No, you can't.
You
But we all
cannot-
try though.
Yeah, we
That's
try to
We try.
put
That's
him
right.
in a box, and,
Yeah.
and you cannot.
No,
Yeah.
if it's not our way in
Yes.
our religious, you're not going to heaven.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah, who made you, died, and made you God, and be
Mhm.
judgmental?
Yes.
When you look
That's
at
right.
it, it's
That's
all
right.
about love in the first place.
Yes, because
man
God
is
is
the
love.
one that's divided us all apart
Yes.
with these different denominations.
Yes,
But that's a
Yes.
totally different subject.
yes.
Yeah. So, you out there, if you're listening, no test, no testimony.
There you go.
Okay,
That's
thank
Greg Franklin for
Greg
you right
Franklin
now.
speaks, baby.
Okay, I think it's time for us to go to commercial right now. And so what you do, you guys, go grab you something to drink, something to eat,
Some healthy
Do
nachos,
your
if there's
duty.
such a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
and come on back for the next part.
Yes, don't go away.
We've reached the age of live streaming on social media shows. You may ask, we're already ahead of the curve, so why do you need to advertise with us? Well, only 8% of the businesses in the US are using digital advertising to grow their business. That's 2 percentage points short of reaching critical mass, which will lead to faster results. We have 20 plus shows with a reach of over 80,000. We'll give you commercial ads, website link, and connections to nonprofit organizations. So get your brand ready for digital monetization, for we are looking for sponsors, which will bring more traffic to your business and ultimately mean more sales. So let's bring the world to you. Inquire now.
Hi, my name is Dawn Weir. I'm the founder of The Giving Water, a local nonprofit that delivers water to disasters and people in need. I am excited about empowering women for so many different reasons, but most of all, to make women stronger and love themselves more. Because when you love yourself, it's easier for someone else to love you more. So watch Honeybees. Women.
And the lesson that we learned from Greg Franklin's testimony, and Greg Franklin, thank you for joining us.
Thank
By
you
the way,
so
that
much.
was an amazing testimony, and
Yes.
I got super emotional about that.
Yes,
And
it was.
Dolores too.
Yes, it was very, very emotional.
Yeah.
But it was breathtaking,
Mhm.
knowing the fact that, it was powerful.
It was.
I just felt it through my soul. It really touched my heart.
So what did it teach you so far?
It taught me in life that you cannot take life for granted. You
Mhm.
cannot. You cannot, because you never know when you will go rock bottom.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And stuff, and things can happen, at the spit of the moment.
Yes.
It can happen today, right in front of your face, and you don't even know it.
Absolutely.
You can walk up
Absolutely.
right out the door and something happens.
Yes. Yes.
I know God is with us each and every day.
Yes.
Amen. He's protecting us and guide us, but yes, we have to eye contact what's going on too, because
Mhm.
we have to look at the surrounding of the world, what's happening in this world,
Yes.
and things can happen, and we gotta learn to be prepared. We gotta be prepared. So if something
have to be
happens,
prepared, yes.
so we'll know what to do, to move
Yes.
forward, what to do. We don't want to wait to when it's too late and
The
then
last
it's
minute.
the last minute. It's like, oh my goodness, what I'm gonna do? We gotta. I learned right now we gotta make a plan, a layout plan. That's
Yes.
one. That's one important thing in life. Make a plan out. Say, if something happened now? Am I gonna do? What's the backup plan? Always have a backup plan.
That's powerful.
Yes.
In my case, my mom would always tell me, it takes a misfortune to bring a man back to God.
Amen.
That's what she
Amen.
always says.
Yes.
And it's just like the story of the prodigal son. For those of you who don't know the story of the prodigal son, the prodigal son is the story of this the wealthy man, who had big land, farm, agriculture, everything. And this wealthy man had two sons. And one son said to the father, give me my inheritance right now,
Yes.
so I could separate myself from you and I could go my own way. So the
Yes.
loving father, being the loving father that he is, gave him everything. And then he left. The prodigal son left, went to another city. What happened after a season of partying and doing this and just living a reckless, decadent life? His life came crumbling down.
Yes. Yes.
And so he hit rock bottom, and his job was to feed the pigs, but his master didn't even feed him. So he
Yes.
said he was even envious of what the pigs were eating, the pods that the pig, because that wasn't even fed to him. And that's how low he sank to the mud. And he said to himself, oh, I should probably go back to my father and tell him how sorry I am, and I am not worthy to become your son anymore. But I would be happy to be one of your servants. Because he said, even my father's servant live, an extravagant life more than the servants in this part of, of town.
Yes.
So to cut long story short, as he was going over the courtyard of his father ran towards him, towards the
Yes.
prodigal son. And he embraced him. He embraced the father, and the father, instead of treating him like a rebellious kid, a rebellious man, just embraced him back and restored him back as a son. And he put on the royal robe and a signet ring. Back in the
Yes.
day, the signet ring meant it was like an unlimited credit card. Imagine using a credit card with no limits. That was what the signet ring was all about. He put on that ring, he put on that royal robe, And the other brother got jealous, and he said, oh, because the father was like, now that my son is back, we're going to throw a party because my son is back, because before he was dead and now he's alive again.
Yes. Amen.
And the other brother was like, I've been living with you all along, and I've been loyal to you, and you've never thrown a party for me. And then the father was like, but son, everything I have is yours. But remember, this brother of yours was lost, and now he's found again. And this story is the story about how our loving Father in heaven loves us so much that we are like that prodigal son. If you recognize that there is a loving Father out there that does not condemn you for what you are, condemn you for what you're doing right now, or whatever it is that you're doing in the dark that you only know, the Father is there waiting for you, like the father of this prodigal son, waiting to embrace you back and restore you back.
Yeah, that's right. And that's right. We all go through things and experience in life, and Jesus is help us to see it. He opens up our eyes. Sometimes we don't see it. We're so blind that he had to reopen it, and he had to implant it in our souls. We had to say what we're gonna do next. Say we have to rely on God all the time. Pray always. No matter what happens in life. Keep on going. Don't never give up.
Yes.
Seek help immediately. If a disaster happens or anything like that, always have a disaster plan, like I was saying, like a plan. So we always should have a disaster plan. So if something happens like this, if we go rock bottom, we will have a survival kit. And that's good to have a survival kit.
Yes.
That means, your bottled water, your canned goods, anything that you can, that's something that you can just open up and it's not going to spoil, you can eat and that. Have you plastic utilities and stuff like that to eat from and stuff. So this way, you will have a survival kit. So if a disaster happens. But otherwise, you keep on moving forward and go get your help immediately. Find that help.
Yes, find that help.
Yes.
And for
all that he been through, and God has put him back on solid ground now. And he's there now. He's doing things that he thought he would probably never do again.
Yes.
Because I know when you go through a situation like that, some people it really hardens their heart really hard, and they say, I don't know if I can make it. I don't know if I can make it, because they still felt that inside them. But he's very strong.
Yes.
He's very strong because he was there, for that tough situation to be in that. But look at him now. A man of God. God restored him, restored his heart, and he's a living testimony. It was
powerful.
Just powerful.
Yes. Oh my God, Dolores, thank you for sharing that. That was really amazing. So, at this point, we'd like to also acknowledge Revolution Radio 2. Okay. So
we'd like to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in.
Yes.
And for all your support. I really appreciate, and I hope today that you've been spiritual filled, and whatever that you was going through, I just pray and ask God to deliver you from that, to heal you from whatever you're facing right now.
Yes.
Because and I just pray that this testimony had touched your heart. And if you have a testimony or anything, let us know. Shoot it out there. We'll love to hear it.
Absolutely. So till next time, brothers and sisters, always be blessed, and remember
always.
that we are saved by grace and not of works, and so that no man can boast. We are saved by the grace of God through the power of Jesus Christ.
Yes, we are. Amen, amen. Bye-bye. Have a blessed one.